Speaking Task 1. You will be asked a question about a familiar topic. You will then have 15 seconds to prepare your response, and 45 seconds to speak.
Many people think that students learn course materials more effectively by taking exams, while others think that students learn more effectively by doing other activities, like completing projects. Which one do you think is more effective?
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
Well, I/D have to say that I feel students learn better by doing other activities than taking exams. For one, when I was a student, any time there was an exam coming up, I would cram. The day or two before test day, I would shove as much information into my short-term memory as possible, and then, after the exam, I would forget everything. Another reason for this opinion is that students learn in all sorts of ways, not just from taking tests. By doing other activities, like projects, students with alternative learning styles have a better chance of retaining the course materials. These are the reasons why I think students learn more effectively through other activities rather than exams.
Speaking Task 2. You will read a short paragraph and then listen to a conversation between two people. You will have 50 seconds to read the paragraph. After, you will get a question about what you read and heard. You will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. You have 50 seconds to read. Start reading after the beep. Now listen to the conversation between two people.
I think it's very important for you to know that this policy wasn't instituted in order to increase fees for international students. In fact, the university doesn't make a profit from the sale of health insurance. The problem is that health care costs in this country are so high that it could be financially disastrous for the family of an international student who needed more than just a simple visit to the doctor's office. A trip to the emergency room at the hospital could cost thousands of dollars without health insurance. Most families abroad just don't realize how costly it is. As for foreign health insurance providers, well, it was just too difficult to validate their coverage for medical services, and the local doctors and hospitals simply stopped accepting them. So, to be sure that our students are protected, we're offering low-cost health insurance through the school.
The foreign student advisor expresses his opinion of the policy for health insurance. Report his opinion and explain the reasons that he gives for having that opinion.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The foreign student advisor believes that the health insurance policy is crucial for international students. He explains that the university does not profit from the sale of health insurance and the policy was not implemented to increase fees. The advisor emphasizes that healthcare costs in the country are high and without insurance, it could be financially devastating for the families of international students. He mentions that a visit to the emergency room could cost thousands of dollars. Additionally, he points out that local doctors and hospitals have stopped accepting foreign health insurance providers due to difficulties in validating their coverage for medical services. To ensure the protection of students, the advisor states that the university is offering low-cost health insurance through the school.
Speaking Task 3. You will read a short paragraph about an academic topic, then listen to a lecture about it. You will have 50 seconds to read the paragraph. After, you will get a question about what you read and heard. You will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. You have 50 seconds to read. Start reading after the beep. Now listen to the lecture.
So, one example of this is the macaw, the great green macaw. Now, the great green macaw is a beautiful bird, a fairly large-sized parrot known for its colorful feathers, gorgeous green feathers with some red and blue feathers too. The macaw lives in the South American rainforest, in a part of the rainforest where a lot of trees had been cut down, trees that the macaw relies on for its food and nesting. So, the macaw was in trouble. And, of course, along with the trees, a lot of other animals were in trouble too. Lots of birds, bats, and frogs also lived in these trees. So, when the trees were cut down and cleared away, these animals also didn't have a place to live anymore, and their populations drastically declined. So, what a concerned group of people in the area did was they started spreading the word about how the macaw, this really beautiful bird, needed help. They made little books with information about the macaw, with pictures, full-colored pictures of the macaw that showed off its beautiful feathers. And they passed out these little books, these informational brochures. They distributed them to people in schools and community centers in the area. And a lot of people responded. They contributed money and helped the group set up some protected land, a special area where no one could cut down the trees, so the macaw would be safe. And the macaw's population started to increase, and other birds and bats and frogs came back to the area too. Their numbers increased along with the trees.
Using the example of the macaw from the lecture, explain the concept of a flagship species.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
A flagship species is a specific plant or animal chosen to represent and bring attention to a larger ecosystem that is in danger. In the case of the macaw, it was selected as the flagship species for the South American rainforest that was being threatened by deforestation. People found the macaw attractive and interesting, so environmental organizations used it to raise public awareness about the importance of protecting the rainforest. By focusing on saving the macaw's habitat, people were motivated to take action to help not only the bird but also the other species that lived in the same ecosystem. This approach helped to save the macaw and restore the balance of the entire ecosystem.
You will listen to a lecture about an academic topic. After, you will get a question about what you heard. You will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and then 60 seconds to give it. Now listen to the lecture.
Marine plankton are some of the most important, some would argue even the most important, microorganisms that live in the ocean. It is not well known that the plankton have a lot of diversity. They don't just live in oceans, but they can also be found in rivers and in lakes. They can also be divided into two main groups, phytoplankton and zooplankton. Today we will be focusing on the former since they are more interesting to us. They perform functions without which life as we know it would not be the same. Phytoplankton are photosynthetic and they are responsible for the production of the majority of the oxygen in the oceans. If we could snap our fingers and remove them from the world, we would have a disastrous effect. It will do to the marine life what the asteroid did to the dinosaurs. The other important function that they perform is that they are the base of the food chain. Here, the previously mentioned zooplankton come into focus again. The zooplankton feed on the phytoplankton, and then the zooplankton are eaten by other small animals, the same small animals which are on the menu of bigger ones. So, not only would marine life suffocate without these little organisms, but they would also starve without them. This is why we really need to be careful with how we conduct ourselves. Human activity has placed a lot of strain on nature, and these microorganisms are feeling the pressure. Our waste and energy consumption has contributed to the disruption of the ecosystem in which phytoplankton live, and if we are not careful, there might be some dire consequences.
What are the vital roles of phytoplankton? Include points and examples from the lecture.
Prepare your response after the beep. Start speaking after the beep.
The lecture discusses the vital roles of phytoplankton in the ocean ecosystem. First, phytoplankton are responsible for producing the majority of the oxygen in the oceans through photosynthesis. Without them, marine life would suffocate. Second, they serve as the base of the food chain, being consumed by zooplankton, which are then eaten by larger animals. This shows how important phytoplankton are in sustaining marine life. For example, if phytoplankton were to disappear, it would have a disastrous effect similar to what happened to the dinosaurs when the asteroid hit. In conclusion, phytoplankton play a critical role in maintaining the balance of the ocean ecosystem, and it is important for us to be mindful of our impact on their habitat to prevent any negative consequences.